Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. I'm Musgrove here. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. But we come to you after a great week for Newcastle United. 1-0 win over Brentford, a fantastic point in the stands here against AC Milan in the Champions League, and then an 8-0 thumping of Sheffield United. We come to you with some bad news, and it is the fact, or the fear rather, that Harvey Barnes could be out for months, not weeks. Now, you will remember during that 8-0 thumping of Sheffield United, Harvey Barnes started just his second Premier League game and he was subbed after 14 or 15 minutes, so replaced by Anthony Gordon, who changed the whole dynamic and was arguably man of the match. But Harvey Barnes was subbed due to an injury. Now, anyhow, after the game, said it was a toe injury, and that left a lot of people thinking, well, how bad can a toe injury really be? Well, it turns out a toe injury can be quite bad indeed. Eddie Howe has held his press conference ahead of the Carabao Cup game against Manchester City, which takes place on Wednesday at St James's Park, and he has confirmed some bad news about Harvey Barnes, some devastating news about Harvey Barnes. I'm absolutely gutted to hear what the Newcastle United manager had to say. I'll read you the quote and then we'll get into it a bit more. So he said today, it's an injury to a part of the foot just below the toe. I think it's quite a substantial injury. We've had it scanned. We're waiting now for specialists' opinions on what to do next, whether there's surgery involved or not. Don't think it was a tackle. I think it was just pushing off to run. A very unusual injury. I won't go too technical because I'm not medically qualified to do so. But yes, very unusual. I don't want to put a time on it until we get confirmation from the specialist, but I think it will be months rather than weeks. And that is a sentence that sends a shiver down my spine, as does the reference to surgery, because that is not good. Months rather than weeks. Ah, man, he's just signed. I was so excited to see him get a few games under his belt consecutively, build him up, and would see exactly why Newcastle spent all that money on him, because he's a fantastic player, knows where the goal is, knows how to put the ball into the box. He's just had a tough time of it since his arrival at Newcastle, since he's moved to Tyneside. Can't get in the side because of Anthony Gordon's form. That's fair. That's okay. But then to be hit this blow, devastating for that. Absolutely devastating. I mean, months rather than weeks. You know, of course, we have to wait to see what that actually means. Hopefully, the specialist might come back and say, you're going to be all right in a few weeks. But reading there what Yao said, no, probably not. And imagine if he's out till Christmas or something like that. Then you have the issue of building up your match fitness as well, which that could take a few weeks. It's a whole different ball game just to being fit and ready to train, to building up your match fitness. Absolutely devastated for Harvey Barnes, because this was his big move from Leicester. He'd earned it. He'd earned a move to a big club, a club battling at the right end of the table, European football. And what's he had? 4 minutes against AC Milan, and then boom, hit with this injury. And such an innocuous injury as well. As Eddie Howe said, he's just pushed off looking to run, and it's just something's just clicked or snapped or whatever it is. Horrendous. And it just seems like Newcastle United's luck, doesn't it? After such a great week of results, great performance against Sheffield United, that they then hand this blow of losing one of their big players potentially for months. We wait and see. It's bad news. It is bad news because Newcastle have got such a run of fixtures coming up. Cup game, European games, of course, the Premier League. That rotation was going to be key over the next few weeks. Eddie Howe referenced it in his press conference today. He talked about assessing players and utilising the squad. Well, you could see Harvey Barnes starting against Man City, Anthony Gordon coming back in against Burnley. Having two players of that quality out on the left, so important for Newcastle United going forward. And now they've lost one of them. And Anthony Gordon has been absolutely superb. It's his form and his form alone to why Harvey Barnes hasn't started more games. He's taken his opportunity that he's been handed, because a lot of people would have expected Harvey Barnes to be one of the first names on the team sheet. But Eddie Howe kept faith with Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon has seized the opportunity, and look, he's been Newcastle's informed man, and he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet, and he'll want to play every game. He'll want to play against City. He'll want to play against Burnley. Then, of course, PSG next week. But that's going to be tough. Eddie Howe's praised his fitness levels and athleticism, but it's going to be tough for Anthony Gordon, because that's a lot of games, it's a lot of minutes against tough sides, and they're going to have to manage that. And it would have been a lot easier knowing that you had Harvey Barnes to come in and replace him. The other thing is as well, competition now, because you had Harvey Barnes pushing Anthony Gordon every step of the way in training, and Anthony Gordon well aware that if you get subbed off during the game and it's Harvey Barnes that comes on, Harvey Barnes is going to take his opportunity. We saw it against Aston Villa with an assist and a goal. That competition is so key because it pushes you and pushes you and pushes you. Look, 90% of Anthony Gordon's form is down to him and him alone, but I do think competition would have had a little bit of an impact on him as well, knowing that you've got such a good player coming up behind you. And you know, if you mess up, if you drop out of form, Harvey Barnes is going to take that chance. And I think Anthony Gordon will be a little bit devastated as well that he's not now got Harvey Barnes pushing him every single step of the way. You've got Joe Linton, but he's out injured. He can play out on the left. You've got Elliot Anderson. He can play out on the left, but goodness me, doesn't he look at home in the centre? So be intriguing to see who indeed does fill in, does push Gordon for that spot on the left. I think one of the positive elements of this is that we talk about Harvey Barnes' injury and we're not pulling our hair out. We're not crying about it too much. We're devastated for the lads, but we look at it in a light of we've got players who can fill in. Now, if this had been Alan St. Maximin, as it was many a time especially under the Mike Ashley days and Steve Bruce, with Alan St. Maximin out injured, that you're looking around, you're thinking, he's our main threat. He's the man that dazzles. He's the man that can create something. Who replaces him? And often there was nobody, certainly no one of St. Maximin's level. Here you do have Anthony Gordon at Harvey Barnes' level, if not a little bit above. So that softens the blow slightly. You then look after, Jacob Murphy could do it. Alexander Isak is an interesting one. He's played out there a few times for Newcastle, but I don't think he looks at home out on the left. And we talk about risk of injury. Are you going to be putting Alexander Isak out on the left and Callum Wilson up top? One gets injured, you're down to one senior striker. So that's something else that might play into it. I don't think Alexander Isak looks right at home on the left either. I think his threat is nullified. I think it's a bit of a waste. Now, look, 60 minutes on the clock, Anthony Gordon's putting a shift and you need someone to come on, then yes, okay. Yeah, I can see Isak doing that. But as a long-term plan, no. Of course, it all depends on how long Harvey Barnes is out for. But yeah, it's not as bad as it could be because you do have players and good players who can play out on the left and make an impact. But no more so than Anthony Gordon, who's been absolutely brilliant. And if Harvey Barnes was fit and raring to go, he wouldn't get ahead of him in the first team anyway, because Anthony Gordon is the main man at the moment. I think in terms of where else, now I could see going forward, Anthony Gordon switching to the right, Harvey Barnes to the left, Almiron dropping to the bench and becoming an impact player. The injury to Harvey Barnes, if it is months, probably secures Miguel Almiron's place in that side till January, and then maybe they go shopping for another one, unless Jacob Murphy can push him. So that's one element of that. But I think it's just devastating blow. Devastating blow. I know not everyone was on board of signing Harvey Barnes because I mentioned the names there who can play out on the left, and some people go, "What did Newcastle need another body on the left?" But look, when a player of his stature and his ability comes available for a decent price tag in this market as well, 38 million is not all that bad. When he becomes available, when you look at the goals he scored, 13 goals last season, he's got a fantastic tally of assists. He comes available, then you're signing him. He wants to come, you are signing him. So I was all for it. Man, it's just devastating, bros. Absolutely devastating. Let me know what you're thinking. I assume, like me, you pass on your best to Harvey Barnes. But what are you thinking about the bodies on the left? Obviously, we've got Anthony Gordon, but then who comes up behind him and offers a bit of competition? Is it Isak? Is it Anderson? Is it Joe Linton when fit? Of course, Joe Linton could be out until at least the international break, so rule him out for the next week or so. But let me know in the comments your thoughts on this. How devastated are you by the fact Harvey Barnes will potentially be missing for months, not weeks? Oh, horrible. But that's football. That is the risk you take. I guess you're always going to have the risk of injuries, especially with such a busy schedule. Newcastle United will have had contingency plans to deal with injuries to top players. As I said, squad depth is there. Not such a big blow as it may have been. Still a horrible bit of news to bring you this Tuesday morning ahead of the Man City game. Shall we talk? Do you know what? Right, I could have ended it there, but let's finish on something positive, shall we? Because it's been a fantastic week. Great win against Brentford. Performance not so good, but good win. Great point in the San Siro. Again, performance defensively not so good, but a great point. Then you get to Bramall Lane, smash 8-0. Could have been 12, could have been 14. Defensively, they shut up any of the doubters, including myself, about where that threat was. And yeah, I mean, how are we feeling about that a couple of days after? I mean, anyhow, said the feeling in the dressing room was brilliant, and you can't replicate that feeling of scoring goals. 8 of them, 8 different goal scorers. What that'll do for the confidence going into City, because it's a horrible draw, that will boost the confidence going into that cup game. And Newcastle United hopefully can get a result against City and get through to that next round. Yeah, I mean, what we'll finish on, because if you listen to the podcast yesterday, that cross, Kieran Trippier to Callum Wilson, how many times have you watched it? I've already watched it 6 or 7 times. Superb cross. That's the positivity we're ending on. In fact, let's just go rewatch the highlights of the Sheffield United game, and hopefully that will soften the blow somewhat about this devastating news about Harvey Barnes. Good, absolutely good. But I've been Andy Musgrove. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, head over to chroniclelive.co.uk as well for all the latest Newcastle United news, and we'll see you guys very soon.